Welcome to today's lesson. Today I will really like to try to do a little bit of revision concerning the topic algebraic expressions. Let's start with one of the kinds. Number one. If we're going to have an equation something like 2 divided by 3 m squared p squared minus 7 plus n minus p, everything over 2 plus 2 m cube. In this one, question number A. How many terms? Let's write it. How many terms? Now guys, we do know that a term do get separated by a plus or a minus. So there's a minus, so this one here altogether got to be a term. Here must be a term. You can see it's separated by a minus. That whole fraction together got to be a term, and then everything down there must be a term. You can see every time it gets separated by a plus or a minus. So I count 1, 2, 3, 4. So my answer in this case got to be 4 terms. Number 2, or number B. The coefficient and let's say of m cube. Now in this case it's very wise. First I must identify the m cube. There it is. The coefficient, I know it's the value in front, and always remember the sign must accompany the coefficient. So therefore it's going to become plus 2. Remember, if it was a minus it would have been then a minus, but in this case plus. Number 3, or number B, C, the constant. The constant is the value itself. So therefore it got to be 7. But remember, the sign always accompany the value. So it must become then minus 7. I think that was a general information about that one down there. Let's go for question number 2. Simplify. In question number A, let's see what we can do with this one. 2a squared multiply 5a squared multiply a. Now guys, that sing-song that we do know so well, if the bases are the same, multiply, then I know the exponents must be added in that particular case. Therefore, let's first do the coefficients. 2 times 5, and I know in front of that a stands a 1. So 2 times 5 is 10, times the 1 equal to a value of 10. I do know the hidden information. There stands a 1 key down there. If the bases are the same, the base to be a. So it's going to become 2 plus that 2 down there plus that 1 down there. So I'm going to have an answer then of 10a. 2 plus 2 plus 1 going to give me a value of 5. And all that was by just recognize one equation. Question number B. If I'm going to have 3 x cubed multiply 5 x squared y to the 4 multiply x y squared. Guys, you know me, the first thing I love to do is put the hidden information. I know that at that x there stands a 1 key, and the coefficient in that case will be also to be a 1. Right, now I'm going to start with my normal coefficient calculations. 3 times 5 is 15. Multiply the 1 stays 15. Now, if the bases are the same, first I'm going to look at the x. There's a x, there's a x, there's a x. So I'm going to look at the x first. X. Now let's do it. All of them are in multiplication. So I got to say 3 plus the 2 plus that hidden information 1 at the time. Now I'm finished with the x. Now I'm going to do the base y. I'm looking for the y. There are no y's there. Yes, here is a y, here is a y. So I'm going to be left with now the y. 4 multiplication means plus the 2. So therefore I'm going to be left with 15. And let's see the x. That's going to give me 3 plus 2, it's 5, plus that one to be 6. There's a doikie there, which means multiplication. I can show it if I like, or I do not do that. And the y is going to give me 4 plus 2, it's going to give me 6. And that one will do as my answer. Number C. Let's try number C. If I'm going to have 3 divide by 4, and let's just extend the division sign, x5 x squared. Then I know the second rule that I must be aware of, if the bases are the same, but this time in division, a m. For the division, then it means it must become n minus m. So if I apply that rule, as far as the coefficients are concerned, 3 divided by 4, I'm going to let it stay 3 divided by 4, but the base x, if the bases are the same, there it is, 5. The division means subtract. That division means subtract. Now the question is, what must I subtract? And I can clearly see I must subtract a 2. So therefore I'm going to have for an answer 3 divide by 4 x, and 5 minus 3 is going to give me a value then of 3. That is one way of leaving the answer. If you really want to go for another answer there, then you must really know that underneath that x stands a 1. So you can also write the answer as 3 x cubed and all that divided by 4. That is the same kind of thinking. Question number D. Let's go a little bit in combination with those two together. If I'm going to have m square n to the 4 multiply 4 m cube n divide 2 m to the 5 n to the 5. Now guys, there are many ways of doing it. I like to do it like this. I would like to do the multiplication first, where I'm going to say m square n to the 4 multiply 4 m cube n. Now I do know a division means divide everything with. And I'm going to divide it then with 2 m to the 5 n to the 5. Now first on top I'm going to do, on the numerator, I do know the hidden information says that in front of the m stands a 1. So 1 times 4 going to become 4. Now the m, if the bases are the same, multiply. It means I must add their exponents, meaning 2 plus 3. Now the n, if the bases are the same. And also keep in mind that there's a hidden information of the n to be 1. So therefore, I'm going to say 4 for the multiplication plus the 1. And everything I'm going to divide that by 2 m5 n to the 5. Then I'm going to start saying yes, that 4 divided by 2 going to be 2. Then on top, numerator, m, 2 plus 3 gonna give me 5, n, 1 plus 1 gonna give me 5. Divide all that then by m5 multiply n to the 5. Now if we play it by the rules, we're going to have 2 if the bases are the same. That's the m. We're going to have 5. Division means minus. What must I subtract? I must subtract the 5. Now the n. 5. Division means minus. What must I subtract? 5. Therefore, I'm going to have 2m. And 5 minus 5 going to give me, to the exponent, 0. And also with the n, 5 minus 5 going to give me 0. So therefore I'm going to have 2. Then there's one exponent rule that reads a to the 0 is always equals to be 1, but a is not allowed to be 0. Very important one. So we're going to have m to the 0 going to be multiplied by 1, and n to the 0, similar thinking as that statement we had there before, we're going to become 1. 2 times 1 times 1 are going to give me an answer of 2. That is if I do it strictly by the rules all the way. Next question. Let's say we're going to have something like 3m to the 6 n 4, and everything in a bracket to the 2. Then we must remember the rule where we say if I'm going to have in the bracket a, b, everything to the n, I do know hidden information 1, 1. I must multiply it into every part in the bracket. So I'm going to have a to the n, b to the n. So if I'm going to apply that rule now there, the hidden information first, never forget the hidden information. There's a 1 key down there. That means now, if I multiply it in the 2 into the 3, we're going to have 3, and now 1 times 2 on the exponent side is 2m. Now to the m. 6 times 2 going to be 12. Now to the n. And we're going to have 4 times 2 going to give me 8. And then I see on the very first step here that 3 square going to give me 3 times 3 going to give me a value of 9. M 12n to the exponent 8. And that will be one of my answers. If I go for the next idea, perhaps, where we're going to have 2, and let's put it in a bracket, k to the 4 m cube, and then everything divide that by k to the 6 m cube. Therefore, we're going to say hidden information. First, there stands a 1 key, and there stands a 1 key at that m as well. Very important, the hidden information. So I'm going to say remove the brackets by multiplying it in. We're going to have for the 2, 1 times 3 is 3 for the k. 3 times 4 going to be 12 for the m. 1 times 3 is going to give me 3. Everything divided by k to the exponent 6 m3. Therefore, we're going to do a couple of things now at once. 2 to the 3 going to give me 8. Now the k, the base to be k, if the bases are the same. And keep in mind, it's a division. Therefore, it must be a minus. So we're going to look 12 minus what? Minus the 6. Going to give me at the end 12 minus 6 going to be 6. Now the m. We're going to do it all at once. We're going to have m, division means minus. What must I subtract? The 3. 3 minus 3 going to give me then a value of 0. So here comes my answer. 8. K to the exponent 6. Anything to the 0 going to become 1. 1 times 8 still to be 8. And there is my answer for that particular calculation. Right, guys, let's go for something else, perhaps. Next question I would like to share with you. What if we're going to have something like cube root? And let's make it a little bit more interested. 27 x cube. Interesting. Now, guys, there's a formula that I do know. If I'm going to have something like a to the 1, and let's say 2, then I know if I remove the square root, I know I take that one and I put it underneath. In other words, it's going to end up with something like a1 divided by 2. But if I extend this idea, if I extend it, it's going to look something like this. What if I'm going to give you a multiply b? Then there's a 1 key, there's a 1 key, there stands a 2. Now it means I got to take the 2 to that one as well as to that one. So I'm going to end up now with a 1 divided by 2 and the b 1 divided by 2. So this idea of thinking is important to know. So now I'm going to do first the 27. I'm still going to keep it cube root. The 27 I know is 3 times 3 times 3, where it's going to become now 3 cube. So I'm substituting that now by saying it's going to give me 3 cube, and then also the x cube. Therefore, if I apply that rule now, I must put it underneath that 3, and I must also put it underneath that 3 if I remove the root sign himself. So I'm going to have 3 divided by 3 then, multiply the x now, and also 3 divided by 3. So therefore I'm going to have the 3 and the 3 cancel. I'm going to be left with a 3. The 3 and the 3 cancel. I'm going to be left with a x. And that is as far as the square root, cube root is concerned. Right guys, the next question I would like to share with you. What if I'm going to give you something like square root, I know there's a 2 key there, 25 x to the 4. The technique I would like to refer to is something like here. If I'm going to have square root a multiply b, because it is a multiplication, I can rewrite it to become square root a multiply square root b. So this is maybe a nice one that I must remember. So if I'm going to apply that down there, square root of 25 multiply, I split it by saying square root then of x to the exponent 4. Then I do know that square root 25 going to be 5 multiply. I do not need to show that doikie. I know that there stands a tuikie. Remove the root sign, meaning put it underneath the 4. I'm going to have x 4 divide by 2. So my answer going to become then 5, and then 4 divide by 2 going to become equals to 2. That is as far by the split technique by that one. But what if I'm going to have something like this? 25 x to the 4. Let's just add now a little bit more onto the square root. Minus 9x 4. Can I use that same technique now? No. Why not? Because it is not a multiplication in that regard, it is a minus. So I have to look now for some other ideas. If I really look at it, I see, but wait a minute, I'm having something like likewise terms in that particular case. So I'm going to go now for likewise terms, and I'm just going to say 25 of that kind minus 9 of that kind. So the kind I'm referring to is x to the 4. 25 minus 9 going to give me something like 16. And here I'm back in that idea. You can either split it or you can write it immediately. I'm just going to split it in my mind now by saying yes, there's a multiplication. Square root of 16 going to become 4. I know that there stands a 2 key. If I remove it, I have to put it underneath that 4 there, and then I'm going to have x 4 divided by 2. That is if I do now a couple of steps at once. So therefore I'm going to have 4, and then for the x, 4 divided by 2 going to give me then a value of 4. Right guys, so yes, those things are very important so far. Let's go over now to a little bit of distribution. Distribution. If I'm going to give you the formula A, B plus C, then it means I have to multiply it into, I'm going to have then A multiply B plus, and then that one there, A multiply C. So this is a very important part that we must remember in that particular case that we see down there then. So if I'm going to go over with that idea into a calculation now, let's say for example I'm going to have 2 and then inside the bracket x plus 5, then I'm going to multiply it, 2 multiply the first term inside the bracket, going to give me then 2x, multiply it into the second one, I'm going to have, and 2 times 5 is going to give me a value of 10 in that particular case to be. Right guys, now it's your chance in doing a couple of questions for me for homework. Give it your best and I'll come back later to you with answers. Thank you very much.